Wow, the sun is very bright, but it has been a minute since I filmed a video. So like, hey guys, how are you guys? I'm hoping the sun will set a little more, or like the clouds will come in front. And I hope you can hear me, because all I hear is birds. But today's video is going to be kind of like a what I read in the month of June / what I've read so far this year. So, that person has a dog. It's too cute. But I wanted to do like a book recap. So every year I set a goal for like what I want my reading goal to be, and if I complete my reading goal from that year, I increase it by 5. So last year I read 15 books in 2023, so this year my goal is 20. So far I've read 8 books within the year. Goodreads says I'm 1 book behind, but like any basic human would tell me I'm 2 books behind, because I should have 10 books by the half mark point. So in my head I'm a little bit behind, but like I know I'll catch up, especially because I'm reading a book right now, and then I have like several books on my TBR. So the first book, I wish I had the physical book. A lot of the books I read are on my Kindle. I am a Kindle reader. I do have the physical book for some books, but for a lot of these I was able to get them for free through my library. Support your public libraries. Yeah, so I don't have like the physical book to be like, this is what I read, but I'll probably put a picture so it's more than just me talking. But the first book I read in 2024 was Tips for Living by Renee Shafransky. I might also butcher some of these names. I do apologize in advance. It was the first book I read. I forgot what, I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't remember the synopsis, but I might also put that on screen. Or maybe I should do a little voiceover. I don't know how this is gonna work. But it was basically a book about a woman, and after her divorce with like this really famous artist, she moves to this small town, and then I think like a few months or years later, he moves to the small town with his new wife, the woman, or like the lady that he cheated on his first wife with. Very messy. And then next thing you know, they both end up dead. So it was like, ooh. So she's trying to figure out like who's murdered them. It's like a whodunit kind of thing. This was definitely when I was still in my thriller, like mystery girl era, because like a lot of the books I read in 2023 were very mystery heavy, and so I think that like led into that. And this is a book that I've wanted to read since, I want to say like middle school, since I was like first on YouTube. But yeah, I think I get the book 4 stars out of 5. It wasn't a bad book. I just don't think it was like I believe everyone needs to read this book or they're failing in life. And yeah, I would encourage someone to read it if like thriller is their thing, but I don't think it was like a must read, if that makes sense. Maybe if at the time it came out, but like as of right now, I don't think it's a must read. So the next book that I read was The Silent Patient by Alex. I don't know how to say his last name. It looks like Michaelides. I'm probably saying that wrong, but again, I apologize. But I read The Silent Patient. I think I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I literally will probably be taking screenshots from my Goodreads, so we'll see if I was wrong. Okay, yeah, I just checked and I was right. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. When I was reading this book, I was at the edge of my seat. I was gripped. I was about to say I've been groped, but that was not how that should have been said. But like the book had me from beginning to end. I usually do like a reading the actual book and listening to the audiobook combo, because I like that like stimulation of both at the same time, like being able to read along and listen. I can do either or, but I prefer both. I don't even remember. Oh, I do remember the plot. I was gonna say I don't fully remember the plot, but there was this lady, once again, scorned like famous artists. That's like a common theme amongst these for some reason. But what does she do? Oh, I think she like kills her husband, or like that was like somewhere in the premise of like her husband died and she went into jail for it, and then she went like mute and she never spoke to anyone. So it was all about this guy like trying to get her to speak, and he's like a therapist or whatever, and he's like chosen her as her like scorned someone who's in like she's the reason he's interested in psychology in the first place. So it's an interesting dynamic. And then you read the book and then the plot twist happens and you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know if that was a good description at all. I probably need to do me editing, probably needs to do voiceovers of like the synopsis. We'll see if I do that. But yeah, I just remember the twist, like the twist at the end choking me and me being gagged for air, and I was like, wow. Like that is a book. I think I don't read books like twice. I know that sounds kind of weird because it's like you don't remember everything from a book, but I've just never found a book where I was like, I like kind of want to read that again and again and again. Like I don't really reread books, but I think that's a book that I would reread. So definitely didn't hate it, and I think other people should read it too. So the third book that I read, I definitely can't pronounce the title, not the title, the author's name, but oh, the sun is going down. But the third book I read in 2024 was called Dopamine Detox. I forget the author's name, plus I know I can't pronounce it, and I didn't rate this book because it wasn't like a I don't think I rated it, but like I remember not wanting to rate it because I was like, this isn't like something I'm reading for like interest. I'm trying to gain knowledge, and I guess that's why I used to rate books, and I feel like it was pretty knowledgeable, but I also feel like it was stuff I kind of knew. Like the whole siren just went off. But yeah, so that I didn't rate, but I did enjoy the book. I was trying to read the book just to kind of like, because I was realizing I was kind of on my phone too much, and I was like, this is a little bit too much. I need to do like a dopamine detox. And you hear people talk about it all the time, at least I hear people talk about it all the time on TikTok, and I was just like, I should just read a book since I'm like trying to read more and I need to read 20 books. Like, why not find a book and read it? And it was a short book. I would recommend it to anyone. He kind of gives like a step-by-step on like how to do a dopamine detox, what it might do, the symptoms you might have. Like, honestly, that's another book I probably reread just because it had so much information that I probably didn't like gather the first time. And like, have I kept up the dopamine detox? No, I have not, but I probably should. I feel like a lot of us should go outside and touch grass. So yeah. Okay, so the next book that I've read in 2024 is what triggered like kind of the path I'm on right now, and I'm reading a lot about love and like romance, and that book is This Could Be Us. Why did I not look at the title? Is that the that indeed is that indeed is the name of the book. This Could Be Us, the Skyland series, the first book in that series, by Kennedy Ryan. And that book, I think I gave that book a 5 stars out of 5 stars too, because like I have not picked up a specific like romance book since like middle school, and so this was my first introduction back into romance. And of course I've seen the Colleen Hoover, if you can even call that romance, don't even get me started. Not even gonna lie, not a big fan of her. This is not a Colleen Hoover support page. Take that somewhere else. But yeah, and it's specifically black romance, and people always talk, like when you mention black romance, Kennedy Ryan's name is always in the conversation. So I just felt like I needed to give her a chance and read one of her books. And so I read that book and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in love. This is such a good book. Everyone needs to read it. Like, what are we doing? Why did no one tell me sooner? They did tell me. I just didn't. I was too into thriller. I mean, I still am. A good mystery book. You know, I don't always want to read about romance. But that book I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know, the writing was like quick pace, but it still was enough to like develop the characters. And then I liked seeing the intro into other people's like stories, and you could see the setup of like how it's going to be a series. and I think it's really good, and I just think her writing is amazing. And yeah, I feel like as a reintroduction to my like romance book era, it was like a good first book, and I just feel like that does play an influence in how I rate books sometimes, of like, am I feeling it or am I not, you know, because that's really what makes or breaks a book for someone. So not everyone is gonna think this book is 5 stars, but I think everyone should give it a chance. And then after that, I read A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. That book also got 5 stars for me. I forget the author's name, but I don't know. I read the book, and the twist had in that book, I was not expecting. It definitely caught me off guard a little bit, not gonna lie, but I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think part of me thoroughly enjoying it was because like the dynamic between the two main love interests kind of reminded me of me and my boyfriend, just like little things here and there, and so I think that played a huge role into how I felt about the book. The writing from my memory wasn't like terrible, but I don't remember being like, wow, this writing is top tier. Like, you know, it was definitely good, but I wasn't there for the writing totally. I was there for like, what are the words I'm trying to say? I was there for the plot. The plot really did get me, and I was trying to see how this all connected, and then it connected, and I was like, oh, not how I was expecting, but I'm kind of here for it. So that is another book that I gave 5 stars so far. And this year I'm actually trying to give books 5 stars, because I think a lot of the times I'll go and read others like reviews of the book, and I'm like, they're right about this critique, or I didn't see that point, that's a good point, da da da. And I feel like that lowers my rating on how I rate books. But I'm trying to just like rate books on how I felt about the book, and like what I thought of it, and how it like entertained me personally, because this is my Goodreads. So yeah, I'm trying to keep that in mind when I like rate my books. But this one was a 5-star for me. But I do think if like the twist that occurs, like I could definitely see that not being for everyone. And so I do think there's definitely some people who'd be like, you have an interesting taste in books, but hey, don't knock it till you try it. And then after A Love Song for Ricki Wilde, I read the second book in the Skyland series. So the second book in the Skyland series, forgot the title. As you can see, I'm not good with names, but this book is by Kennedy Ryan. So the first book focuses on the love between like Yasmin and Josiah, and then there's other like characters in the book. So Yasmin has her 2 best friends. One of them is named Soledad. Can't think of the other one's name right now, but I love her. Ooh, I need to have pen and paper next time, because I'm forgetting a little bit too much. But there's like a bunch of different characters, and then, you know, there's their husbands or their partners or their kids. So the first book focuses on Yasmin, and then the second book focuses on Soledad. So I think the third book will focus on that third friend whose name I can't remember, and I'm gonna look it up because I feel bad. The friend's name was Hendrix. So I think the third book will be about her. But overall, I gave the second book in the series a 4 out of 5 stars. It was still really, really good. Finished it in under 24 hours. But I just don't think it had the impact on me personally that the first book had. But I do think I liked the plot a bit more in this book. So I think the romance was better in the first book, but the plot was better in the second book. But yeah. Okay, so the next book is Mrs. Wiggins, and it's also the first book in a series. And I read this book with my line sister. This book I do remember because it's more recent, and it's about this couple in like, I want to say early 1900s, but I think that's when it took place. But it's definitely like still, it's about 2 black people, but they're like definitely in a town of like segregation and experiencing racism at like its peak and those things. But I don't think it's like right when the civil rights movement was happening, so not that far in the 1900s, so like earlier. I don't fully remember, but the plot is that also they're in the South, so that's like the context. The plot is that this girl who, trigger warning by the way, sexual abuse, she experiences like sexual abuse when she's younger, and so then like she grows up not wanting to get married, not wanting to have sex, like none of that. And her best friend growing up is this black boy who she shares the secret of like one of her parents' friends is like molesting her, trigger warning, sorry. And then her friend is this guy, this little black boy, and he's like, if I shall tell you my secret, like, you promise not to tell anyone? She was like, yeah, I just told you my secret. And he says that he's gay, and mind you, like, his dad is like head pastor in the town and whatnot. And so they grow up, and he's like 23 and she's like 17, 18, like she's still fairly young. And they get married as like a cover-up, so she's basically his beard. And it's just like that dynamic and how they deal with their relationship and how they like, you know, start a family and keep the front up in front of their family and all that stuff. And you know, it was an interesting book, I'm not gonna lie. The plot was like, oh, because my sister sent me the TikTok, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I watched it for real. I was just like, oh, you want to read a book? Cool. Let me know when you start reading. And then I saw the book was free with Kindle Unlimited. I said, oh yeah, double cool. I will read it because I have it for free. Free. I pay $11.99 a month. But yeah, I think I gave that book 3 stars, either 3 or 4. I don't fully remember. I remember not hating the book, like I remember liking it, but I felt like a lot of it was very, what's the word, not predictable, just like average. Like the writing was like good, but it wasn't like great, and the plot was good, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like. And then I don't know, it just felt like a very normal book to me. So I think that's about it. Like it was overall just like kind of normal. So, and then the most recent book that I read is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. And I really thought I was going to love this book. Like, you always hear people talk about it on like TikTok and like that trend of like the thought, as in like thought daughter. And that book is like always there, and people are like, oh, this book like changed my perspective about love, and it was just all these different things. And then I read it and I was just like a bit disappointed, and I was trying to explain it to my roommate of like why I was disappointed. Ooh, sorry y'all, I just killed a bug. But I think I was disappointed in the way that like Barbie made me feel disappointed. And that's to say, like, when I watched the Barbie movie, I was expecting to like sob, because everyone was like, I'm sobbing, and like my mom's just a girl and I'm just a girl, like we were all girls once, and you know that childhood never leaves you, and it's just like it's so hard to be a woman, and rada. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into this movie and I'm gonna sob. And then I watched the movie, and I remember like it gets to the I'm just Ken scene, and I was just like, oh, okay. So I remember feeling disappointed of like, did I just not get something? Did I just not understand? But I think for me personally, it wasn't, I was expecting like a level of philosophical turmoil within myself to occur that didn't occur. Like I wanted to like leave that movie pondering, and I didn't. And that's how I feel about the book. Like I thought the book was going to change my perspective, or at least open my eyes to something. But I felt like for me personally, it didn't. And so I really thought I was gonna like I thought this was gonna be one of those 5-star reads, and it was not. I wanted to give it a 3.5, like 3.75, but obviously Goodreads doesn't do that, so I just rounded up to a 4. But for me personally, it was a really more like a 3.5, 3.75. And that's not like to say anything about her experience about love, like her like anecdotes and like stories and like her evolution it was honestly really nice to read and like kind of refreshing for someone to be honest, and to also put it like she does a really good job at like putting you at where her mind was when she was like thinking these things at these different ages. But I just think it wasn't what I was expecting as far as like when everyone talked about the book. So I think my expectations were just a little too high, because I think if I went in with no expectations, I would have been like, this book was really good and I think everyone should read it. I do think people should read it. It might not be for everyone, but I do think people should read it. But yeah, and then the reason I know like there's books out there that will fill what I need is because my current read, I'll just go ahead and say my current read, so this is going to be book number 9 for 2024. My current read is All About Love by Bell Hooks, and that is like, the way that book is structured is what I thought Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton was going to be like. And I was just like, like I think I'm on chapter 8 or 9 right now of that book, and that is what I wanted. And so I have a feeling like this book is gonna be like a 4.5 5-star read. Yeah, so those are all the books that I've read so far in 2024. Woo! But thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.